So, picking up characters in this game, right? Like, I have a pretty decent amount of teams in this game. I tend to do that whenever I like master a team, like one of them. I always like to go on a tangent and try to see who else I can learn and like who else I find cool because it helps me like learn more about the game too, right? Like, sure, I have to I pick my main characters, but me picking other characters helps me learn more about the game because I learn different approaches to winning, and I also learn more about like I guess what other characters can do as well. So honestly, I mean it's not for everyone. Like it's not like you have to learn multiple teams, but especially for a game like this, it's not really that hard. Like in a game like Blaze Blue, it was hard. Like I had to dedicate a lot of time to it to fully get myself into the groove with characters. I have a lot, but like I have like 7 or 8 characters in CF, but like that's just because I spent like a crap load of time on it. In this game, I'd say I have like Ruby Gord. I didn't buy DLC yet, but I have Mika Wald, Carmine Aki, and Narukami Hyde. I think Narukami Hyde would be a good team to kind of show this primer off, just because you know it'd be easy to explain the concepts a little bit, just because of how straightforward they are as a team. So I'll just go ahead and do that. Yeah, Iron God. I mean, like, if you just, I mean, I guess I've been hearing you say that a lot recently, but you know, we sometimes get into those slumps, but you know, what matters is that just got to stick to your game plan, right? You just got to make sure that you can just focus on executing your game plan and make sure you fine tune that, and then you know the rest will come. You'll probably get out of your slump, no problem. All right, so oh yeah, thank you. Yeah, I did put a lot of time in that. That one's one of my favorite ones, Aki Carmine. So anyway, starting off, I guess. So say if I wanted to play Narukami High or like a Narukami team, right? I would first thing is like selecting the character that he goes with. That's well. In my case, I chose Hyde because I liked his synergy with Palebringer a lot. And I also liked that the fact that they were both like pretty simple, straightforward characters. But I think I saw inspiration from a Japanese player that told me to pick up this team because it was really like it's pretty easy and it's really explosive. Because like JC Palebringer is like it's really good. It's not as good as like Mitsuru JB Palebringer or anything like that, but it's super efficient because it's like ultra plus on block. You can even use it in neutral or stuff like that, and like you can set up a lot of really cool situations for yourself. But like the thing is, there's a lot of different characters you can pick with Narukami. Cause like that's the thing, right? When I'm like picking for all my teams, I didn't like unless I was told directly like, hey, you should try this team out. Like I don't know, Yang Wald for example. I would usually pick the character who I really want to play, like Narukami, and then I would pair him with someone who suits his strengths well. In this case, I got lucky because Hyde happened to be another character I wanted to play because you know he was really fun and yeah, he feels pretty rewarding to play, honestly. So I enjoyed learning this team because they were both characters that I really wanted to play. But sometimes you know the character that might best suit your playstyle, your gameplay might not necessarily be the one that you want to pick. But you know, ideally, you'd pick 2 cool characters, right? Because that's what matters most. So when I'm learning a character, right, like first I get a feel for like their buttons and their specials, right? That's like, you know, it's basic common sense. I'm picking up another character. But so once I get all that stuff, get my solo routes down, all the baby stuff, it's pretty easy in this game to get down combos and whatnot, just because it's like literally presented to you. Because like they try to make it as easy as possible, but when the second, and I do this for both of my characters. So first, I learn them individually first before I go on to synergy stuff. I learn like, okay, what are their solo combos? What are their conversions off of throws? What are their anti-air? What are their anti-air confirms? What are their air-to-air confirms? Just like you know, I make sure I get all the like individually I get those characters down before I like start mixing and matching them together, because it kind of helps me process information better, right? Because you know I can just focus on one thing at a time, and I don't have to like overload my brain with anything like that. So it makes things a lot easier to just focus on one thing at a time, especially like learning the solo routes for all your characters. It's pretty easy, like with the exception of like some characters, and like you know Hyde does have like some try hard combos like with the Rekka delays and stuff like that, but I like usually learn those later, like when I get more comfortable with the character. So for now, like I just like learn the bare basic combos, like stuff like this, right? And then like when I get past that part and like their basic utility, their moves, then I start paying attention to the assists for both characters, right? I start to pay attention to what each assist does, for one thing. That's like, you know, the straightforward part about it. But I also see how the assists interact with my point character. As in, like, what does this accomplish? What do each of these assists accomplish for Narukami, right? In 6P's case, like, it's like his neutral assist. It allows him to move himself forward, like, relatively safely. And Hyde's Orbiter in specific is actually really nice because it can it has a lot of projectile durability, so it helps him move forward. And also what's up? When you're learning something new, be it character or game, when and how often is it a good idea to VOD review yourself? I'd say when you get comfortable with the team, character, what game, whatever. Like, I suggest that when you feel like you're comfortable enough, whether if it's like, I don't know, whether if you feel ready for a tournament or you just feel ready to net play someone, like it doesn't matter. When you feel comfortable with your characters in the game, then I feel like then it's a good idea to use videos to review yourself, because then you have a better idea of what to look for. You have a better idea of what you did wrong and what could be improved from that. Also, what's up, Shinku? How you doing? I'm gonna like try to pace this video, like talk first and then answer questions later, just so I don't get too off topic. But anyway, so where I was at was like 6P, right? It's like a lot of 6Ps help their main character move forward like that, and it's a relatively safe thing to throw out in neutral. So generally it's like it's universally pretty similar, but there are some unique cases. For example, like I don't have him, but like let me see. Some 6Ps move themselves forward, with some of them being like Azrael's.
Get ready.
Like his moves him across the screen, right? And now you might think like, well, wouldn't you rather have a projectile? And like, you usually would, but this is where some synergy details can come in, right? So, say you're a character with a projectile like Narukami, what you can do is you can cover Azrael's 6P with Zio of your own. And I haven't really tried this out too much, but you can potentially combo off of it and like be able to active switch between them. So like really it's it depends on what 6P you can do, but sometimes you have to cover them if they have slow startup, but that doesn't necessarily mean your character can't do it. But make sure your characters have the tools to cooperate with your other team members. So that's usually what like 6Ps are for. And for 5Ps, like Hyde's is like exemplary, right? It's like probably one of the best 5Ps in the game. And how I would use it with Narukami is like, well, since it's so good, I can use it like around max range, somewhere around here. Like it can be really good for just a move to toss out. And again, because you can active switch into him the whole time, you can do things like cover his landing with Zio. And you can even create some mix-up situations off of that as well. And yeah, Shinka, like in Gord's case, like as Agrim Reaper can combo into Azrael 6P and stuff like that. It's like little things like that that I look for, like little interactions with active switch and like fusing special moves together that I really look for when I'm creating a team, right? I really want to make sure that the team actually synergizes together, because if it doesn't, then I'm gonna have to go for a more like straightforward approach and like try to just play a lot more of a straightforward game plan, which to me isn't nearly as fun, right? I want my characters to be able to synergize with each other and work well together, just because it like feels better for them to work with, right? And like for 4Ps, right? Like they're usually like the defensive assists, like assists that you can use to use in blocks. And Hyde's 4P is a little bit of a funny one because he actually moves a little bit backwards when he does it, so you can use it for defense. But next onto what other thing, and this kind of goes into the second part of what I look in for assists like that, is how do I confirm off of them with cross combo? In a straightforward case like Narukami's assist, if you see that he gets hit with that, you can just do another 5P and then like proceed to combo from there. In Hyde's case though, it's a little bit more tricky because you can do 2 Palebringers, but it's a little tricky. It kind of usually if you don't time it right, then like it can whiff, or like the second hit might whiff. But regardless, it's like that. But it's a little weird. But so what I like doing instead is I like using 4P to confirm off of that instead, because it's a lot easier. And then I like do my combo from there. Like seeing how your assists behave with cross combo is very, very important, because it's kind of what allows you to it allows using cross combo to be much easier. Like a lot of people tend to ask me like, how do you use cross combo like that? Or like, well, one thing you can do to make it easier on yourself is use it as a way to confirm like your assists with each other, or like being able to like use like cash out to secure damage and things like that. Let's see. And I usually try to find areas where I can plink special moves, or where I can plink assists with buttons to see like how well they work together. Like common scenarios and stuff like that, right? Like seeing which assists work the best in combination with my special moves and buttons. Here's another example. Like it's a light example, but it's like something like, say, like doing a fireball at the same timing as 6P, so that like both of them come out and your assist meter doesn't go down. Like doing that instead, like just plinking them together like that. You can potentially create more opportunities for yourself as well. Yeah, it's pretty common to find like a good button that you can abuse and like combine it with your assist and see what happens. Again, there's so many different combinations in this game, so really the sky's the limit with like how many different things you can do. So like that was like with on Narukami's end, right? Or with Hyde's end, right, for his assists. And for Narukami's end, like, you know, he's able to self-confirm into Isen like that. But in addition to that, he can also use it to position himself further as well. And then like when I position himself further, then I'm able to do like 4P pressure like that, because this 4P is really godlike in cross combo as long as it's nearby the other person. So that's like the bare basics of what I generally do for like when I try to link characters together. I try to see what assists interact with the buttons the best. 5A Palebringer is a good example, right? Because I press both at the same time. And it's not jump cancelable, right? But 5A is. And if it hits, I'm able to confirm into a combo. And if it doesn't, then I'm able to get a like a or like a cross up situation off of it, depending on spacing, of course. I'm not always able to, but I can do cube stuff like that depending on how it works. So really, it's all about like experimenting to see like what your characters can do in tandem with each other. Now that's the second part about it. So active switching, right? One crucial thing about this game that that you have to learn with all your characters is what moves can I active switch with. And again, I do this one at a time. I try not to like mix and match like, you know, the characters together because then I'll confuse them. But in the case of Narukami, right? Let's see what are his active switch moves. For active switch moves, you try to look for moves that are like I could it's like about hit or miss, but moves that are like over 10 frames or so. Preferably like 13, 14 frames, somewhere around there. Something like Raging Lion is perfect, something like 5B is perfect, something like 2C works too. Just something that isn't fast, like a jab or something like that. You're looking for your slow, you're kind of slow but still fast moves. You don't want it too slow because otherwise then like they'll be able to see the active switch and then block it, right? So what you want is like something that's relatively fast but still relatively unreactable. So for Narukami, it's pretty easy. Like he has a crap ton of options. Like he has Zio at far distances. I am sucking right now. There we go. So he has Zio, and for even farther distances, he has Zio. Oh yeah. Also, if you want to test to see if your setups cross up or not, or like properly, or your sandwich situations are properly set up, then try to set them to guard first hit only. That way you can kind of easier tell like there was a gap there, because keep in mind you can't like do an active switch cross up if they're still in block stun. Well, that was an actual setup, but say something like that, right? Like I wouldn't be able to do that because I did that too fast. So you kind of want to like find things that can ease into an active switch, and it helps when the move's slow because then it's a lot easier to use, right? So generally that's the case with being able to do that. So for the second part about it, right? So for cross comboing or for using active switch normals, I try to also find the ones where I'm able to hit confirm it or like safely combo off of it with cross combo for a fake cross up and create another pretty bad situation for my opponent whether they block it or not. Because a lot of people focus on like, okay, like where are my cross ups and like stuff like that, but try to see how you can stay on the same side as well as cross up, because it's definitely very important to be able to do both. Because if you're able to do both, then you're able to mix the opponent up a lot more efficiently. And you know, I think it's been Tempest and Fame and people have been tossing it around recently about the concept of cashing out, so to speak. And you know, that's just about like having your assist, hit them and then cross comboing, and then like just doing a raw super off of it. It kind of goes with my concept earlier about like seeing which assists you can hit confirm with this the best. Hyde's Palebringer is absolutely perfect for something like this, because it gives you plenty of time to see that they got hit. Something like Hyde 6P is a little tighter because like they recover so quickly, so it's a lot harder to tell. But if it's something like this, then it's you know, it's not too hard. Like something like Palebringer, it's pretty easy. But you know, in my case, especially if they don't have a burst, I like to just go for like a combo, like some kind of conversion off of it. Or maybe you can do both. So that was with like Narukami, right? He had his active. So in summary, his active switch moves were JC, Zio at far distances, so slide. 2C, I mean, it is an active switch move, but there are much better options. Like slide is way better than 2C in that regard, and 5B. So those were like his active switch moves. You can also use JB too, but you know I prefer JC just because it's a lot easier. Because the faster the move, the faster you need to be able to active switch for it to truly cross up. Because otherwise, then like, you know, nothing will happen because they'll just block the same side and there won't be a mix-up. So for Hyde, right, his options are actually a lot more limited than Narukami's are in regards to like active switch moves. Not every character has like a plethora of them like Narukami has. So in his case, right, his most reliable one is A-Rekka. Because it's quick, it's unreactable, you're able to see it, or you're able to do it relatively easily and off of a lot of setups. It's a nice one. If he's willing to spend resources, he can do stuff like EX Orbiter to help confirm easier. Wait, watch. Be able to do stuff like that. At farther distances, he's able to use regular Orbiter to help him continue off the block zone with that. But off of shorter distances, generally he only has like Rekka. He has 2C, I guess, but like, I mean, you kind of want to pick the move that covers the most space, like in case, say, they want to jump out. If you did 2C swap and they jumped out of it, then like it would miss. But if you did like Rekka swap, then they wouldn't be able to, like, it wouldn't hit them because there's cross-up protection when you block. Right, so but there's cross protection when you jump a little bit, like right after you leave the ground. But at the same time, it'll keep them there, so it's not all bad. So you kind of want to find the active switch moves that are like the most efficient at being able to link themselves together and being able to and the moves that allow for you to active switch off of them from different places. Like I mentioned 2C earlier, right? Like you can use it for that, but doing stuff like 5A2C won't really work for active switching just because like it's a block string. But something like this is not a true block string, so it's actually much easier to cross up with that. Ignore that. I did that too fast. So it's a lot easier to kind of ease them into active switch setups because like no matter what you do before it, there will always be a gap between the move you cancel from and the special cancel into. Also, what's up, Gears and Fame? How are you guys doing? Synergy can beat Tears in Marvel 3. I mean, I definitely think Synergy can beat Tear in this game, but it can be a little hard, especially depending on matchups and stuff like that, right? Could you show off some of the CC and active switch applications with your Aki Carmine team? So, I would love to, but I just got this PC port, so I don't have DLC. I can explain it, and I will eventually buy them, of course, right? Like, why not? But I can kind of give I can give you like a general example of what their deal is, like how I like to use them. And so I guess I can kind of show it off a little bit with, say, a team like this one. Switch there. Yeah, it's a new copy, so I don't really have like all my characters still up there. But in Aki's case, he has an assist that moves him really far forward like that, right? Like that's a 6P. And I was mentioning earlier with Asriel 6P about how I like to plink this with a projectile, and then when he gets close, I like to call an active switch. Because then it basically gives him a free pass in. And you know, I mentioned before about how like finding assists that work best with certain moves, right? Well, this also applies for DPs too, right? Because you know some characters can get DP assists and things like that. This one doesn't work, right? Because they recover to, or like Hyde doesn't recover fast enough, but Narukami Hyde actually does work, sort of. It's not perfect, but it's enough to work. But anyway, with for assists that move far forward, they're actually really nice, especially when they're paired with projectile characters, because then they're able to be covered efficiently like that. Yeah, like in Ragna's case, he doesn't have a projectile, so he can't really cover him too well. Not the same way that Hyde can. Because then he's able to like get efficient pressure off of it. The Aki Carmine team has a very similar thing, except like Carmine has even more tools to help him assert pressure. Like he has like Hyde just has Orbiter, but Carmine has Wheel, he has Blood Spears, he has Puddles, he has so many different things to help Aki get in and continue pressure. They have one DP assist, and that's like with Aki on the front, and Carmine doing 6P, and that only really works in the corner. Because you're able to both combo off of it, and they can't really punish it unless they do push block super or something like that, so... It's important to be able to structure your team so that they have a specific game plan in mind, right? Whenever I find a team together, I make sure to think about to myself, like, what do these two do together? If they don't do anything, then it's really hard for me to, you know, be interested, right? Or for the team to even be, like, considered good. I feel like, you know, if you were to just splash a team together, right? Say, like, I don't know, something like Ragna Jin, right? I mean, that team's not actually that bad. That team can work, actually, but at the same time, it's, or maybe something like Ragna Ruby. It's like, sure, it works sort of, but you definitely have better options out there because, you know, like, there's so much better support for Ruby than Ragna. For example, like, the classic example, Gord, S, Narukami even, Hyde, mostly Gord though. Yeah, like just a random team, stuff like that. Like, you want to make sure when picking new teams that you have their game plan in mind. Like, what do they do to you? What like, are they good at like setting up sandwich situations? Are they good at like ignoring neutral with DP assists and CC? Are they good at doing a lot of damage? Are they good at like moving around the screen? Like, you kind of have to have like a game plan about like how you want them to approach the game, right? It's just like you kind of just, I don't know. It's something that you have to go into a team with that in mind, just because it like makes the process so much easier. Oh man, what's happening? Alright. Okay, there we go. Oh yeah, sure, no problem, y'all. Thanks for tuning in. My controller spazzed out a little bit, but that's just what happens with these PC ports sometimes. So in any case, I guess I'll go over a DP assist team, right? Yang Wald. I would go Mika Wald, but I do not have her at the moment. Sad to say. These are just teams that like I know are good and like can definitely work. There's a Japanese Yang Wald. He's really good. His name's Deddy Whiterock, but let's just see. I'll just play whatever song. So, do you believe some lower tier teams can break the meta if played correctly? Potentially. It really depends on what the characters are and what they're trying to do. Because they might not even be that bad. If a team sucks, then really all there is to do is to just go and try and hope you can outplay them or outmaneuver their team. Because again, it can depend on matchups too, right? Like maybe your characters might favor nicely against certain strong teams, but that won't account for all of them, and that's why those teams aren't very good, right? But like I feel like every character can be placed on a good team, at least like a decent team, right? So it's just all about like picking your choices. So for Yang Wald, right, they have DP assist both ways. So this makes them like extra obnoxious. But like that's a pretty rare thing for DP assist to work both ways. It's definitely a nice privilege. I think for this team, I think it depends on spacing if I recall correctly. Or maybe if it's on hit. Because also that's the other thing. Even if like a DP assist won't combo on hit, or won't leave you at like an enormous frame advantage like my S or Yang Wald or something like that, then like they might be able to combo off of it. If I recall correctly, it works with this team, but maybe it was the other way around. I could be misremembering it. But regardless, I can come up with a good example. Let's see, who is there? Like it's like a DP assist that's like not necessarily safe, but like they do get a combo off of it. Damn, I think this would be a lot easier if I had my Alright, no. I know a good example. Something like Yujin, I believe that also works. Yeah, new DP and like Ragna 6P, something like that, where like your main objective is to like hit people with it. I think you have to do that later. That's in like no way necessarily like you can't just do it unless they don't know how to punish it. But like say if you you know, if the opponent doesn't know about it, then you might be able to get away with it. But regardless, like some DP assists are mainly used to anti-air people, like Carmine Mika's, and let's see, so there's new DP Ragna 6P. Is that unsafe on block, or is that just like a good DP assist? I guess I'll try it out then, right? Unfortunately, I only have base roster to work with. First DLC pack mainly, but you know, it's kind of better than nothing, right? Yeah, okay, that's a good example. Like something that they could very easily like blow you up for, but at the same time, if you were to jump in on them, then you could do DP assist and you'd be able to combo off of it. But there are some DP assists that are so bad that they don't work altogether. Like something like this. Like Ragna 5P or like new 5P and Ragna DP, like they just straight up don't work with each other. So if your team doesn't have a DP assist, that's okay. But this is just another one of those game plans that I was talking about where like it's important to know what your team can do in like to, you know, compete with other teams, right? You just want to make sure your team has active switch synergy, cross combo synergy, and they can, you know, they can relatively compete in neutral as well. Kind of just all about like experimentation, really. Just gotta experiment with teams and kind of like maybe even ask around for the players of certain characters, like see which of their ideal partners there are, because I feel like the game's been out long enough now so that we have a pretty good idea of who works well with who. The only exception being like the lesser known characters. We don't really know all their compatible teams, say like Rachel or Noelle or someone like that. Or maybe even like these three, where it's just like, are there even any good teams for these characters? I don't know. Weiss Yukiko, I guess, is a thing. I don't know. That's like I've only seen like a little bit of it, and I guess they synergize together, but I'm not sure if it's like really good yet. Who knows? Maybe it is, but I haven't really seen enough of it to judge per se. But for like a lot of team combinations, it's just up to finding your game plan and fine-tuning your knowledge with the individual characters. Because when you do that, then everything else kind of falls into place. Some teams are unique. There's like certain teams where they kind of just do their own thing separate from a lot of other teams. Ruby Gord is a great example of that, right? Because they use CC, they abuse CC harder than like almost every other team in the game. Say like maybe take the Wald, but the team goes off really hard, and but as a result, they usually don't have access to their burst or as much as other teams do. So it's kind of just like, you know, gotta weigh the pros and cons of each combination. But it's mainly why I like playing so many teams, right? It's because like it's just, again, like there's just so many different ways to go about like team composition, things like that. And if let's see, was there anything else to go over? I spend a lot of time in training mode just like fine-tuning these ideas and seeing like what other setups I can come up with. Like seeing what are the ideal ways I can set up sandwich scenarios is one thing. Like which assist gives me the most blocks done for me to be able to do so. Which assists like let me traverse the screen more easily. So like I guess like there is a lot to go over, but cross combo points, like seeing which is the best point to cross combo, as well as active switch, is pretty important. But honestly, a lot of that can come with time too. But the bare like basics of your team is just like find out what they want to do the most and what they're best at, and then abuse those strengths. It's kind of just up to, you know, the certain team composition for how much room for growth it has. But honestly, I feel like if you ask around, you don't have to do too much exploring as to like what might work for you, because you know a lot of people have experimented with a lot of different teams in this game so far. So it's kind of just up to, you know, what you want your game plan to be and how you want to execute it. So what else was there? If anyone has any questions, please feel free to let me know, because I don't think there's a whole lot much else to go over, honestly. Just like a lot of like really basic concepts, but I think I went over like a lot of what constitutes a team composition. It's just like making sure, like, again, I keep saying it, but like game plans is just like the most important. Controller zoning comps. What exactly do you mean by that? I mean, like, how do I, like, which ones I use, or how do I create those, or like which ones are you talking about exactly? If you're talking about how to make one, and then in that case, like, honestly, Tempest would be a much better person to ask for this, because I actually don't have a whole lot of experience creating zoner teams. But I don't know who's a zoner team in the base roster, because Vatista and Naoto aren't here, so I don't really know if there's even a proper zoning comp now that I come to think about it. Well, at the very least there's new, right? And maybe there's a... I guess I could consider this one a control comp. It's a lot more of a control comp than, say, something like Ruby Gord, right? I mean, Ruby Gord can be used like something like a control comp, but New Gord is more about like keeping them in check at all times and just asserting really safe offense. It's a really strong team. I see. But like, I'd say for these teams, if you want your game plan to lean more towards neutral control, you want to make sure you have the characters and the assists that can do that. So Nu can obviously do that, right? Because that's like her whole game plan as character. And then what Gordo contributes to that game plan are really good assists and really applicable CC usage. Like, you know, being able to use CC Reaper and putting them in enough blocks done for sandwich situations like that. So like there's a lot of different things that this team can do together because they complement each other so well. Generic support can definitely be like really handy for certain characters. Like sometimes it just really works out, like for this team, for example. Again, usually for myself, is like I want to find like one character that I like, and then I find the character that works the best with their game plan. In Nu's case, like, you know, there's a lot of different choices, but if you want to like be super control oriented, Mitsuru Nu is nice. I think New Jin, New Yuzu, stuff like that. Like, there's a lot of different things. Personally, I'm a very aggro-based player, right? So I'm not really like frequently concerned about like controlling neutral or like having game plans like that. I just want to like find my opportunity and I want to take it really hard and then just kill them. Yeah, new Gord fighting Yuzuriha, yeah, I could probably see why that matchup's annoying. Yuzuriha fights Gord really well in general, like Gord teams, just because she can like prevent them from popping off CC. Because her screen coverage is like top class. Wish I had her so I could like show that off a bit, but maybe later at another time. I feel like for learning teams, right? Like, I don't know, as long as you have like the base concept in mind for what you want, I feel like you can really go off from that. Just gotta make sure you go at it one at a time, right? Like, gotta make sure your characters, you have their game plan for each and every one of them. You wanna make sure, like, if you're playing a team, you wanna make sure both your characters are on track with their active switch utility, their cross combo utility, and things like that. Definitely for cross combo utility, you want to make sure you find your good cross combo cancel points, right? Like for Ruby, it's really easy. Like all she does, like 6P is a perfect cross combo cancel point because she can just she can always like just shoot, and then if it hits, it'll combo into each other, and if not, like you get a free pass in. They can push block low profile, but that's about it, really. And like for Gord, a good cross combo point is Grim Reaper, because like it leaves them with so much block stun. It's even better if you make them block an attack beforehand, so they can't push Gord out. So like definitely seeing how you can like weasel cross combo into your game plan is a very important thing. It just all depends on like scenarios when you want to pop cross combo, right? Because some teams don't really use it all that well, except for sandwich offense. Sandwich offense is universally very hard to deal with, and especially if you have like the right comps, you can just keep them there forever. So let's see. The big question is how less privileged characters assist can transition in a strong offense from neutral. Feels like it's so hard to have good enforcement without running one of Gorby Hyde, etc. or Gord Hyde, etc. Transitioning neutral into like less privileged characters. Sadly, a lot of how like when you say less privileged, do you mean characters that are just not good, or characters that are just like okay, like say something like Ragna? Because if it's something like Ragna, you know, he has his own utilities as well, and he can use his utilities without having to play like a top tier character. Playing a top tier character definitely helps though. Or like even playing like a high tier character. It really depends on on like kind of what you want to do, because because you can find like a partner for say someone like Ragna. I think I feel like his best partners are like, honestly, in his case it's definitely like a little more narrow-ended because of he's a little strange, but I think I've seen Ragna new work. Ragna Jubei was the coolest Ragna team I've seen so far. That didn't use Hyde or Gord, because that was like the team that really it was Elian's team. I thought it was a really cool team because it utilized Ragna's strengths, and like because The other thing Ragnar can be is he doesn't have to be the point character as well. He can also be the support to someone. Like say someone like Jin, right? Ragnar Jin is like a team that can be played both ways, which is why I enjoy that team a lot. It's definitely not like good, right? But it's something that can work because they have some synergy together. Did you miss the primer? I'm still kind of doing it. I tapped upon a lot of the basic concepts earlier. I'm gonna export this to YouTube, so you know it's not like you missed the whole thing. I started to learn how to do that recently, so you can get that ball rolling. So like Ragnar, in Elion's case, he uses Ragnar as support. Like he puts him in the back line to help supplement Jubei's offense and his DP assist. Like Ragnar Jin can do DP assist together like this. It's actually pretty damn good because you get really big reward off of it. It's pretty hard to find. Ragnar sort of has a DP assist with Jin. It's a little awkward. And if they block it, they can like super throw punish you. But it is great for anti-airs though. Regardless, they do a lot of damage off of their DP assist, right? Just because of how much high base damage they have. But the other reason why Ragnar can be good support as well, right, is like being able to confirm off of his assists really easily. Hellsfang assist is really nice. So like I guess like it's more like you kind of have to see what role a character can play the best, right? For a lot of Ragnar teams, especially the ones that work, they usually place Ragnar in the back. Even BBTAG's team, like he places Ragnar in the back, if I remember correctly, usually. But Ragnar can be in the front as well. Like he has really nice active switch moves, like Gauntlet Hades is super good for active switching, 2D is really nice. It's mostly like you have to find what makes them unique from the cast and see how you can use that with other characters. Like in Ragnar's case, his mid-range presence is like, even compared to Narukami, it's better because like like not only they buff it, but it's just like it's already an insanely good move for 5B. And also like his ability to set up fuzzies in certain offensive situations is better than Narukami's. He also has more lows. So while, you know, Ragnar isn't necessarily as good as Narukami, that's not necessarily, you know, be all end all to pick Narukami every time. Really depends on what kind of team you want. So I guess that's mainly my answer, right? It's just like you have to see if that character does anything. What does that character contribute to a team, both on offense and on defense, and or rather, both on point and support. And depending on that answer, you either want to find the character that best suits them, which might end up being like a Gord Hyde character, or maybe you'll find a more unique choice. For me, I like finding the unique choices, like Carmine, right? That character, or rather Akihiko. So I wanted to play Akihiko, right? He's not necessarily a top tier character or even like a high tier character. He's like, I'd say he's like mid-high-ish, somewhere around there. He's good. I definitely think he's not bad because his output is super high and he definitely has things that other characters don't. So like, but he does have his weaknesses, right? So for him, I can't show you a visual example. I went around and I tried to see which characters work best for him. And in the first case, I chose Hyde. Because I thought Hyde was like a good character to cover his 6P with, and I thought he was able to supplement his damage. And I was right, but at the same time, I wasn't looking at the full picture. I put Akihiko on point. I mean, I'm just going to pretend Azrael's Akihiko, but I put Akihiko on point, right? And sure, like, you know, Hyde assists were great and all, but it didn't change the fact that I was playing Akihiko and I had to struggle in neutral with a lot of like his terrible matchups, right? So I was thinking to myself, how could I circumvent that? And I first started by picking Hyde on point instead, and it actually worked out pretty well. Because what inspired me was I looked at Domi play Akihiko Batista, and I saw the way that he put Akihiko in the back, and I thought like, whoa, why would you do that? And then I thought, wait a minute, oh, so he uses his projectiles as a way to cover himself, which I thought was really cool. And like he was able to circumvent a huge weakness for him, and like. And Batista is definitely not like Hyde or Gord, like she's Batista, right? So like it's cool how he was able to find a unique answer for his own team. For this game, it's like Gord and Hyde support is nice, but they are definitely not always the best. Like you can't just like Hyde is a good character that you can like splash onto most characters and it'll work, right? But that doesn't necessarily mean it'll be the best. There are some exceptions, but like for a lot of characters, Hyde can help supplement them pretty well, and like you can't really go wrong with them. But at the same time, there's better options potentially. Like for Aki's case, there was Carmine, and I was exploring different types of teams and combinations, right? And then I found Carmine, and I was just like, wait, his Blood Spear is better than Orbiter for getting him in, and he has wheels to help keep them block stun and help prevent them from pushing. And he also does a lot of damage, which also goes hand in hand with Aki's damage. So together the team does a lot of damage. Carmine's able to circumvent a huge weakness for Aki being neutral, and Carmine is on the team, so he's able to like carry his weight, depending on like hopefully Aki dies first, because that team like falls apart so fast if Carmine dies. Because Resonance Aki is really bad, so it's really not something to. So you kind of have to consider like, what does this character that I want to play? What does he need? And like which characters in the game? Because like a lot of the characters in the game are super different from each other, right? They have their own separate tools, so it's kind of like up to which one complements this one the best. Like what do I need to supplement this character's weaknesses? And Carmine ended up being the perfect choice for Akihiko, and it wasn't Hyde. Hyde was a decent choice, but Carmine was a much better choice because he was also able to supplement like not just like a supportive role, but like also as like it was like a frontliner. So like the team is like almost like they both do a ton of damage and they both have a very concisive game plan of like just getting in there as soon as possible and doing a ton of damage. So I have way more fun with that team than playing Hyde Akihiko. Because when I played Hyde Akihiko, I felt all the weaknesses of Aki, even with amazing support behind him. Because maybe, sure, like the support made it easier, but at the same time, that didn't change the fact that I was playing Aki, and I could have just picked a better character, like say Mitsuru, and it would have been like a lot better of a team. And that's kind of what disappointed me from playing the team, right? It's just like, sure, I could play Akihiko Hyde, but I could just play Mitsuru Hyde instead and it would be fine. Or it would be like a lot better. But then I kind of looked over it and then I was like, wait, Carmine actually supplements Akihiko better than he does like say other good characters like Ruby or Narukami, because I feel like he's able to circumvent his weaknesses really efficiently, and I feel like Akihiko can also contribute to Carmine as well. Mainly being the fact that he can like add a ton of damage to all his confirms. Right? So you kind of just have to find a special game plan for all your characters and see what they need the most, because it might not necessarily be the easy choice. It could be something like Wald, or something like S, or something like Carmine, or something like that, or New. It could be, or hell, even Uri's like another good example. Like he wanted to play, Rachel, but he could like. Sure, he could have picked Rachel Hyde or something like that, but I don't think that would have really worked nearly as well as Team Rose, which is Ruby and Rachel. Which it just so happens their tools work extremely well with each other, a lot more so than like a generic support character. So yeah, that was a long rant, but essentially like the correct answer might not necessarily be what everyone else is doing, right? Or something like that. This game has a lot of room for expression, so try to see what works best for you. But also try not to make your life too hard, right? Because there's a lot of wrong choices that you can make in this game, especially like combinations wise. Characters wise, not so much, because you can make a team work for a lot of characters, like basically everyone, honestly. Even like the weakest characters in the game, they have someone that they can work with, and it can go well. But other than that, then yeah, that's kind of just that's the essence of team building in this game, is to find a game plan that works best for you and to fully execute it really well. Because game plans aren't always like what's in front, like what's on the forefront, right? I feel like there's other things that we haven't quite discovered yet, like other ways to play the game. I do think America is advancing the meta, which is actually at the moment, which I think is super super cool. Because I felt like we absolutely did not do that for like many other anime games, just because of the time difference. But we also have our own fair share of creative peoples. So like the Japanese learned from our tendency to use active switches more in mix-ups, and our tendency to spend the meter after getting an assist hit just to secure that damage. Off topic, but I really hope in the next patch that they remove this glitch that like I really hate because it sometimes happens to me, where like if you cross combo the same at the